Alright, welcome to the next video on the subconscious mind and how it affects our behaviour. So in the last video I talked about experiences and how we don't really get a choice in what we experience from a very young age, even before birth. And it's our environment that plays such a massive part in how our brain forms and what pains and traumas we experience. And I talked about how they can be horrible, horrific, memorable things, but I also talked about how they can be subtle things that maybe happened at a young age that we didn't even pick up on at the time. So either way, it's what is happening at a subconscious level that drives our habits, patterns and behaviours. So if we want to change our behaviour, our patterns, our addiction, we really need to learn how to change our subconscious mind, because that's what drives our behaviour. 95% of how we behave, how we operate even, is driven subconsciously. So we're kind of like, our addiction is almost on autopilot. So we need to learn how to flick the autopilot switch off for addiction and on to other things. So we've got two minds. We've got the conscious mind, which is only 5% of our brain. A lot of people will tell you it's more, but the latest brain science tells us that it's only about 5% of our brain. This is where willpower resides. And you can think of willpower and the conscious mind and conscious level thinking as only surface level thinking that doesn't last. See what happens in the gym every January. It gets annoyingly busy. But even by the end of January, numbers are really starting to dwindle. And then sometime throughout February, maybe into March, numbers at the gym return to normal. That is because people try and achieve new goals or break habits or addictions using the conscious mind. Again, it is surface level thinking that doesn't last. It's not effective. It's not a finite resource. And it just is a temporary thing that doesn't last, so we need to really understand the other part of our mind, the other 95% of our mind that's also scientifically proven by scientists in the lab coats that are probably a lot brighter than I am, maybe not as good looking, but certainly brighter. But joking aside, these scientists have proven that our subconscious mind is over 1 million times more powerful than our conscious mind. So is it any wonder that our determination and resolve and willpower is very, very ineffective at changing how we behave? Of course it is, because we've got something that's over 1 million times more powerful that's going to override it every time. So the way in which our pain and trauma, the things we experience, whether they be subconscious, happen to us without our knowing, or horrible, horrific events that are very painful and memorable, the way they manifest themselves in the subconscious mind is just an incredibly powerful driving force. And if we really want to change our behaviour, we must first of all find out what our fear, what our doubts, what our limiting beliefs are at a subconscious level. Because if your subconscious beliefs go against what you're trying to do at a conscious level, so at a conscious level, we're thinking, right, I never want to drink again. I'm never going to drink again. I'm fed up of day ones. I don't like hangovers. I do stupid shit when I'm drunk. A whole raft of reasons that we sit down and tell ourselves consciously, like, right, I've got to stop. This is getting silly. This has gone too far. I've got to stop. But what if we have the subconscious belief that I can't stop drinking? Or stopping drinking is hard? Or stopping drinking is too hard? Or what's the point trying, because I always fail, I always relapse, I always go back to day one? If we have these limiting beliefs in our subconscious mind, then they're going to override anything that we're trying to do in the conscious mind, including all of our willpower. So we're kind of hosed before we even start. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how you can test your subconscious mind to get to the root cause of what's driving emotional pain that you're going to then try and soothe. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, Dan, the reason that the reason why I drink isn't pain or trauma, it's because I just like to have a good time. And whilst seeking pleasure, and even genetics to a small degree play a part, it's all in the subconscious still. You know, you've maybe got friends that are trying to persuade you into having a drink. Or you might have a very stressful event take place. You know, maybe you have a spouse or a horrible boss that is just really nasty to you one day, and it just pushes you over the edge. Or how you respond to that situation is deep rooted in the subconscious mind based on your beliefs. Because if you have issues around worthiness, not being enough, not being true to yourself, things like that, then that creates stress and pain. It creates the emotional pain that we want to soothe. But if at a subconscious level we're rock solid, we have bulletproof beliefs that are empowering and give us strength, then these traumatic events and triggers can just be like water off a duck's back. But the reason that we kind of walk around, like it's like walking around being full of explosives, like full of C4, Semtex, really powerful explosives. And you know, if we think about the word trigger, you know, what is a trigger? You know, a trigger is something very small at the end of our finger, just a small thing, which if activated, when we're full of this, carrying around all of these subconscious explosives, then just a small trigger but we can remove all of that stuff, that all of those explosives that we're carrying inside. So, you know, how effective is a gun without bullets when somebody pulls a trigger? Nothing happens. And that's the place we can get to in our subconscious mind. So in the next video, I'm going to be teaching you muscle testing. Muscle test is something that you can do that will reveal what you believe at a subconscious level. And, you know, I've tested people that have had, the most was 13 years of sobriety. I tested them. I said, look, I bet you don't believe subconsciously that you'll never drink again. So I did the test on them, which is 100% accurate. Your physiology cannot lie to you. And they didn't truly believe at a subconscious level that they were willing, ready and able to never drink alcohol again. So that was why they were experiencing difficulty in staying sober. You know, I said, look, you know, you've been sober for 13 years, you know, it must be pretty easy these days. And they say, no, I still struggle with it. And, you know, I think that's the case for many people. So, yeah, in the next video, we'll get to it and I'll show you the muscle test so you can get to the root cause of your addiction. And if you're human and you have a pulse, you will have blocks, fears, doubts and limiting beliefs that are working against your sobriety at a subconscious level. So it's very important that we find them. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.